So once again, we can see the dilemma that we are left with. After examining the arguments proposed by both Bose and Gooden, we have a moral problem on our hands. On the one hand, I think it is clear that we value freedom and individual rights and individual choice in our society. We certainly value the freedom to be able to choose to buy and use alcohol or coffee or to go mountain climbing. Along this line of thinking, though, if we value freedom and the right to choose, the freedom to choose so deeply, then perhaps it is wrong to prohibit people from freely choosing to use drugs. Again, we already allow people to freely choose to use some dangerous drugs like alcohol and cigarettes. And so, according to this line of thought, according to David Bose, in order to be rationally consistent, we either need to prohibit all drugs or legalize all drugs. And since the prohibition of putting a substance in one's own body seems to clearly violate fundamental freedoms and rights, we should alternatively legalize all drugs. That's one line of thought. The competing line of thought is that these are dangerous drugs, and anyone who uses these drugs is posing a significant risk of harm to themselves. And so to prevent this from happening, from preventing people from freely choosing to harm themselves, we should pass laws that prohibit those kinds of activities. Moreover, it is a descriptive fact that people often prefer or would prefer to not engage in these harmful activities, to not use drugs like cocaine and heroin. Therefore, again, it seems that the government could, in a way, help people make the right choice. We do believe in paternalism in certain respects, like seatbelt laws and helmet laws and laws against suicide. So again, the person on this side of the debate might say, look, paternalism isn't always rejected. Sometimes paternalism can be justified when it is high stakes, when it is having to do with big decisions, and also when it is based in the person's own subjective preferences and value judgments. So these are two reasonable arguments, two reasonable lines of thought, but they are also clearly conflicting. My question now is, which one is correct? Only one view can be correct. Is it David Bose's position that we should value freedom and rights and let people live their lives however they choose, so long as they're not harming others in the process? Or should we follow Robert Gooden, believing that his argument is correct, that paternalistic laws can be justified if those laws are objectively in the person's interest and there is some subjective grounds or basis for that law? I think this is an important issue because these drug laws, drug prohibition, affects everyone in our society. Even if you are not a drug user, that law still applies to you, and it may apply to people you know. So I think it's important to form your stance and your position on this. You may have already done so, you may not. Even if you have done so, I'd ask you to examine your position, question your position, and ensure that your reasoning and your beliefs are on sturdy foundations, okay? So let's now turn to our assignments. We can discuss this issue on our discussion board. Thank you for your attention once again, and I will see you in the next module where we will discuss the morality of same-sex marriage.